When Disney Plus launched, it really felt like they just came out of nowhere to challenge the king of streaming. But what looked like a surprise attack was actually the final move in a game that started 15 years earlier. So we're going to unpack the secret blueprint Disney used to completely conquer the streaming world. And really, that's the big question here, isn't it? For a solid decade, Netflix was the undisputed ruler. They were the innovator that changed how we watch absolutely everything. So how did the company famous for Mickey Mouse manage to pull off one of the biggest upsets in modern business? Well, the answer wasn't just some flashy new app. It was a long-term strategy of conquest. And boom, this right here is the moment it all paid off. In August of 2022, the unthinkable happened. When you add up Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, their total number of subscribers actually squeaked past Netflix. A company that was super late to the streaming party suddenly found itself at the top of the mountain. But here's the thing. This victory wasn't sudden at all. It was engineered. Yeah, you can trace this entire campaign back to this meticulously planned $100 billion strategy. It was a blueprint designed to completely reinvigorate the whole empire for the 21st century, long before most of us were even thinking about something called streaming wars. So who was the architect behind this master plan? None other than CEO Bob Iger. When he took over back in 2005, he knew Disney couldn't just rely on its own magic. He needed more. His whole vision was centered on this really powerful idea: inorganic growth. Basically, instead of just creating new stories internally, Disney was going to go out and buy the biggest stories in the world. And what I love about this is just how clear the mission was from the get-go. Iger himself laid it all out. It wasn't just about buying companies. It was about acquiring what's called IP, or intellectual property. Those brand name stories and characters that people already know and love, and then building a system to deliver them to you on demand. And just like that, the shopping spree was on. But listen, this wasn't some random grab bag of companies. Nope, each one was a massive strategic pillar. First, they locked down the future of animation with Pixar. Then, they bought a whole universe of superheroes with Marvel. After that, they snagged a galaxy far, far away with Lucasfilm. And finally, they brought in a huge library of film and TV history with 21st Century Fox. Okay, so the first piece of this giant puzzle drops into place in 2006 for a staggering $7.4 billion. That was the price for Pixar. And this wasn't just about acquiring a studio. It was about buying a creative engine, the hit factory behind some of the most beloved animated films of all time. Fast forward 3 years, and they make another move that, honestly, a lot of people saw as a huge surprise. For $4 billion, they bought Marvel. Now, at the time, some people questioned it, but that deal gave Disney access to over 5,000 characters. And it massively broadened their appeal, especially with audiences who, let's be honest, might not have been super into classic Disney princesses. And they weren't done. Next up, another $4 billion deal in 2012, this time for Lucasfilm. This move secured two of the most iconic franchises in movie history: Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Disney wasn't just buying movies, they were buying entire mythologies with generations, and I mean generations of diehard fans. But the final move, wow, this was the big one. A jaw-dropping $71 billion for 21st Century Fox. I mean, this was the checkmate move, right? It brought in absolute powerhouses like Avatar and The Simpsons, a huge international footprint, and even the respected brand of National Geographic. So with all these pieces in place, Disney had methodically built an absolute kingdom of content. They collected what the industry calls crown jewel assets, franchises so popular, so beloved, that literally no competitor could even hope to match their library. And this right here, this really nails the huge difference in strategy. While Netflix was burning through billions trying to create brand new hits from scratch, think Stranger Things or The Crown, Disney did something else entirely. They spent their billions buying proven, multi-generational franchises and then built new stories inside those worlds. I mean, just look at this arsenal. You've got the emotional gut punch of Pixar, the epic scale of the MCU and Star Wars, the global phenomenon of Avatar, the razor-sharp satire of The Simpsons. Every single one of these is a universe in itself, appealing to totally different groups and guaranteeing that pretty much anyone could find something they loved on Disney+. All right, so the kingdom is built, the arsenal is fully stocked. It was finally time to launch the main assault. Let's dig into how this long-term blueprint translated into one of the fastest-growing services in history. Okay, this is just astounding. What took Netflix a whole decade to do, get to 100 million subscribers, Disney Plus pulled it off in just 16 months. 16. This was no fluke. It was the direct result of launching day one with a library of can't-miss content that families and fans had been collecting for decades. But of course, a victory this massive doesn't come cheap, not even close. To keep this engine running and keep subscribers hooked, Disney is spending an absolutely astronomical amount. We're talking around $30 billion in a single year. It's a crazy content war, but one they felt they just had to win. Okay, so you've reached the top of the streaming mountain. You've won. What's next? Because you don't build an empire like this just to stop. There's always another frontier to conquer. The thing is, the streaming market is starting to mature. Growth is slowing down for everybody. So if you're Disney and you've already won, where do you point all that ambition next? Well, the next phase of the blueprint is starting to get pretty clear. And here it is. In early 2024, Disney announced its next huge strategic push. And no, it's not another streaming service. It's their biggest move ever into the massive, and I mean massively profitable world of video games. And look, they're not just dipping a toe in the water here. They're making a $1.5 billion investment for a piece of Epic Games, the company behind Fortnite, which is, only one of the biggest gaming platforms on the entire planet. This is a huge signal, but they are taking this new frontier very, very seriously. So what's the end game here? It's to build what they're calling a persistent universe. The ambition here is just staggering. I want you to imagine a single, massive digital world connected to Fortnite where you can play, watch, shop, and even create your own adventures with characters from Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, all in one seamless world. And that brings us to the final big question. The strategy that started with buying up beloved stories is now evolving. The goal isn't just for you to watch their worlds anymore, it's for you to live inside them. So by taking all that priceless IP and building this unified digital kingdom, is Disney creating a fortress so powerful that no competitor can ever hope to even get near it? It really feels like this game is far, far from over.